let's talk about that then. So I think we can reasonably assume that there is a slice of people above a certain age who have never worked in technology. It's not been that important to them, and therefore they are inexperienced, for want of a better word, and therefore they are excluded. Who else are we talking about? Are we talking about money? Are we talking about location? What other factors sort of define somebody who may well be digitally excluded?
Yeah, this is quite a complex topic in the sense that digital inclusion exclusion is not a separate standalone thing. It is to do with our own personal situation most of the time. If today you live in a very rich area because you are rich, but your area hasn't got the availability of services, then that's not defined by how rich you are. You will
Hmm.
have an availability issue. But there's also uh, a segment of the population, for example, children on school meals, socially disadvantaged households, and this is a few million of those people. They cannot afford either to have a device or to pay for the data plan to give them that access. So that's another issue, right? So you can see there are other also issues to relating to, let's say, your own personal situation, such as if you have a health related issue, your cognitive ability is impaired, or even physical impairment. It again affects your ability to be able to do that. And then there's another dimension which I think is really important. Sometimes we think of this problem as the problem of the have and the have-nots.
Hmm.
So that's easy to, right? So this is why we talk about the affordability thing, right? But what about those who can and cannot? Which is where again we talk about. But why can't they? Maybe it's a physical or cognitive. But there's also those who will and those who will not, and why, right? So I think we're now tapping into the fact that if you look at across those three dimensions, there will be also a certain population. Again, I'm not using age as the factor. The fact that either they do not understand, they do not have the opportunity to understand the benefit, or simply just as a human being, you felt like the world is moving too fast. And this is yet another thing. And I don't want to show that I don't really know this thing. So guess what? Let me just avoid it altogether. Right. So it affects our confidence, it affects our motivation. And therefore, this is yet another factor why people are excluded.
In a minute, I'd like to start talking about who we think should be listening to this conversation, because there will be some people in a position where they can do something about it. But let me ask you a hard question first of all. Let me sort of hit you, as it were, right on the chin. Why should we care? Why should we be bothered that there are some people who are excluded? And as I say, we're going to talk about some specific people who maybe can do something about it. Why should they care? Why should they be motivated to try and solve this problem?
Okay, so I'm going to give you my response from a number of different lenses, right? Let me start from the lens of being a technology professional. I think as a technology professional, if our responsibility is to use technology to solve problems, then unless we're aware that this whole concept of personas, we're only designing for 80% and we're ignoring the 20%, surely that is something that we need to do something about. Whether is it for commercial reasons or not, we are now professionally, either intentionally or unintentionally, excluding the design for the 20%. So that's
I
from a,
think being commercial is an important factor here, isn't it? Because if I'm running a business and my service or product is accessed digitally, I would imagine, and again, I'm being deliberately selfish here, but I would imagine that most of my customers, the people that I want to get money from, essentially, are within that 80%. And therefore, to a degree, I can sort of say, I don't really care about the 20%. Then they're not attractive for me to include.
yeah, I think that is a very fair point, right? But you can see the nuances comes into, because if that is your commercial purpose of running that business, you have every right to make that business decision, right? But if you are a public sector organization where it's about public service, it's about public good, and if you don't think about it the right way, then are we not actually not solving the problem, but we're creating a problem?
Yeah,
And
I
that's the
see
point
that.
I'm making, right?
Yeah.
And this is why, in fact, this on Wednesday, I'm at Think Digital Government, where I'm talking about this topic about digital inclusion in terms of how we design solutions that can be more inclusive. So it is a solvable problem, but it's just about whether are we consciously aware that we are currently designing a solution that is not quite inclusive.